I think that interracial relationships are acceptable as long as people love each other and can get beyond the boundaries of their ethnic background. They can overcome any odds. I've been involved in interracial relationships before, and I'd probably do it again as long as it was for the right reasons. I also think that the movie Jungle Fever has caused more attention to be placed on interracial relationships because it shows black and white society's reactions to interracial relationships. I'm Melanie Hunter, a graduating senior from Penn Hills High School. In 1990, there were 211,000 black-white marriages in the United States, or 4 out of every 1,000 married couples, where in 1970, only 1.5 of every 1,000 marriages was mixed. Newsweek magazine says Spike Lee's new movie, Jungle Fever, uses the theme of interracial sex to explore the mythology of race, sex, and class in an America where both blacks and whites are reassessing the legacy of integration and the concept of separatism from every point on the political spectrum. Justin Lang is a child of an interracial marriage. He is a student activist at the University of Pittsburgh. You may remember when he called for black students not to attend Pitt University. Justin, do you identify with a particular race?
Well, I really don't like to use the words race because the whole thing comes from slavery. But if I'm going to use them, I'd definitely be black because black is a created definition, so you can decide who looks like a slave and who doesn't. And I look like a slave in the sense when it was created. That's why I'm black.
Okay, so does that mean that you date mostly black women?
Yeah.
Do you find it hard being accepted by that particular race?
By black people?
Yes.
No, not now. When I was younger, I had a lot of problems growing up. But when you're younger, you have problems with a lot of things. And when I was growing up, yeah, I had some problems with it. But it wasn't being accepted by other people. It was accepting what my situation was. Because when you accept your own situation, you'll find most people will deal with you pretty much straight.
Did you ever wish you could deny either your black or white heritage?
When I was younger, growing up right on the outside of D.C. and going to D.C. and things, and D.C. is almost all black, I used to want not to deny my mother, but I wish she wouldn't be with me because it would just bring me a lot of headaches, a lot of problems. And I was young, and so I didn't take the pressure very well. So if I was going places and I catch all these stares and stuff, I would basically, when you're younger, you don't like to stand out for too many things. And something like that was not the most reinforcing thing, and I wasn't, happy about that. So sometimes I did feel like that when I was growing up.
Okay, does your mixed heritage make you more of a black activist?
That's hard to say because I only know myself, so I really couldn't say from the outside, as though my mind isn't thinking I got to prove something. It's just being as how I identify with black people. I was always a political person, and it just depended when I moved to where I'm at now. It just happens to come out like this, but I don't think so.
Okay. What are the best or worst things about being of mixed race?
See, like I said, I don't really consider myself of mixed race, so I think some of the advantages to being black with a white parent is that you get to know, for one thing, close up, those devil theories really aren't true. Although a lot of white people are very hard to deal with because they've been miseducated, and miseducated people are a pain, you don't buy into that devil stuff. And I think also it teaches you how to be able to know what it's like to feel different. So maybe if you're looking at someone who's gay or looking at somebody who's, whatever, you can remember what it feels like to be an outsider. And I think that's one of the advantages to it.
Nichols is the handsome 17-year-old you may have seen on the cover of Parade magazine recently. Henry is just like any typical teenager. He's a Boy Scout who likes to hike and canoe. In fact, we're talking to him at summer camp. But Henry isn't like a lot of teenagers. Henry has AIDS. He was born with hemophilia and contracted the HIV virus when he was 11. His family didn't talk about it then. No one in his hometown of Cooperstown, New York, had any idea. But when Henry turned 17, things changed. He was diagnosed as having AIDS. Henry, why did you decide to go public with your disease?
Well, I was first exposed to the virus in 1983, but didn't actually develop the disease. You actually develop the disease when you get sick for the first time. I actually developed the disease in November of last year. And when I developed the disease, we were more afraid that people would sort of figure this out on their own or come to the conclusion that I must have the AIDS virus or have AIDS itself. And so we figured it would be better if we told people instead of having rumors spread and have people trying to guess on their own.
What happened when people learned you had AIDS?
When I told all my friends, personally, the people I've told, reaction has been overwhelming sympathy and support. There's been no negative reaction in my close friends or family. When I've told others, the reaction has been pretty much the same. It's been of support and sympathy.
What made you the most afraid when you were finally diagnosed with AIDS?
What made me most afraid was the possibility that my friends or family or, people I knew could reject me or, avoid me or treat me badly because of this.
When did you find out you had the HIV virus? How did you feel when you found out and then later learned you had AIDS?
I found out that I had the virus in 1986. My parents told me. They found out 1 year before that in 1985. And there was no point then to tell me right away, so they waited a year. Well, when I found out that I had the virus, I was 13 years old, and nobody really knew. Well, I didn't know a lot about AIDS or the virus or what having it meant. So there was no really big shock or emotional scene at that point in time. Gradually through the years, I learned more and more about the virus, and I sort of realized more and more what it meant, so there was no really big shock of learning, and all of a sudden that I have AIDS. And then last November, when I actually changed to having AIDS instead of just the virus, there was no real physical difference. It was more of a clinical definition, so there was no big shock there either.
How did you cope with the news? Did you confide in your best friends, your parents, or your minister?
No, I didn't really talk to anybody about this. I didn't confide in anyone at that point in time. Last year, I told my best friend and sort of talked to him about it. We didn't talk very much or anything, but I mostly kept to myself. I don't like to talk about it that much with my best friends and things like that because it's not a very happy subject or something that's a whole lot of fun to talk about sometimes. But sometimes I don't usually mind. You don't usually ask very many questions. Usually I don't think they talk about it because they think I don't want to. So they're kind of hesitant to ask questions or anything like that.
Is there a message you would like to give other teenagers about AIDS?
One of the main points that I try and get across in my presentations and in every article that's been written about me is that AIDS is not a gay disease anymore or a drug addict's disease. But this is something that every American teenager has to worry about and will be affected by. That this is not something that's restricted to the cities or somewhere else or, it's everywhere in the country.
Do you think you lead a pretty normal life?
As for leading a normal life, it's kind of hard to say. As normal as I can, I'd say.
Has the disease changed the way you do anything in life or the way you were used to living?
Probably the thing that restricts me most is how others feel and think. I have to be very careful on what people see me doing, how they see me acting, because people think about this and they think that I might be putting other people at risk with certain behavior when in fact I'm not. Sometimes it makes me mad that people don't understand, but it's hard to be mad at somebody for their ignorance. The best you can do is try and teach them, and that's the whole point of what I'm doing.
Do you have a list of things you'd like to do and are working to do them?
No, I don't really have a specific set list of things I'm trying to do, like, places I want to visit. It's more of as things come to mind, I do them.
Is there anything else you want to say to our Teen Talk listeners?
The last thing I'd like to say to anyone is that if you know someone with AIDS or you know someone who might have AIDS, you don't have to treat them with rubber gloves or something. They're still the same person they were before. They still need the same things they needed before, and it's love and friendship. And you shouldn't isolate them or abandon them because they have AIDS, no matter how they got it. The disease has made me realize how important life is and how each and every day should be valued and not wasted. And you should do the things that you want to do and things that are important to you when you can.
Thank you for joining Teen Talk. That was Henry Nichols of Cooperstown, New York. He's 17 years old and has AIDS. I'm Melanie Hunter for Teen Talk.